Okay, I want you to do something for me. Just for a second, go back in your mind to that classroom. You know the one. The air's a little stale, the room is dead quiet, and you're just trying to, well, disappear. You're hoping the teacher's gaze just passes right over you. But then, you hear it.
And bam! It's like a jolt of ice water right through your chest. Your heart suddenly starts hammering against your ribs, like it's trying to get out. We've all been there, right? That feeling is universal.
That walk from your desk to the front of the class, it feels like it takes an eternity. You can practically feel every single pair of eyes on your back, just waiting, watching.
You get up there, you grab the marker, and your hand is just shaking a little bit. The pressure's on. You turn and you look at the problem on the board.
And nothing. It's just static. Pure white noise where the answer should be. You know you studied this stuff. You literally knew how to do this 5 minutes ago from your seat. But now, standing there under the spotlight, the knowledge is just gone.
So, if any of that felt even a little bit familiar, I need you to hear this loud and clear. You are not broken. This has nothing to do with you being bad at math. The reason your brain freezes up like that has almost nothing to do with your intelligence and absolutely everything to do with your biology. It's not a math problem, it's a threat response problem.
So today, we're going to start taking that fear apart, piece by piece. We're not just here to solve for X on the board, we're here to solve for your own confidence. And hey, if you're ready to really upgrade your thinking, make sure you're subscribed to Brain Power Academy. This is what we do here. We dig into the science of learning and peak performance. All right, so what is actually going on in your head in that moment? It's time we frame this the right way. This isn't a story about you being bad at math. No, this is a story about a biological hijacking of your brain's executive function. That's the part that handles your planning, your focus, all your complex problem solving.
So you've basically got this internal tug of war going on. On one side, you've got the alarm, which is your amygdala. Think of it as your brain's ancient, primitive threat detector. And to the amygdala, the risk of public humiliation feels just as real as a tiger in the grass. Then you've got the thinker, your prefrontal cortex. That's the sophisticated, logical part you need to actually solve the problem. In a high-stakes moment, guess which one is designed to win? Yep, the alarm system.
So here's the play-by-play. The second that threat is perceived, your name being called, your amygdala just starts screaming danger. It floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And to make sure you can fight or run away, it actively shuts down access to your logic center. Your mind going blank isn't you failing, it's a biological override kicking in. You're trying to do complex mental math while your body is getting ready to escape a predator. It just doesn't work.
I love this analogy because it perfectly explains the problem. It's all about something called state management. You do all your studying in a calm, safe, low-stakes state, the warm, shallow pool. But then you're asked to perform in a high-anxiety, high-stakes state, the freezing, stormy ocean. Your brain can't access the skills because the entire physiological environment has changed.
But there's another layer to this. It's not just your biology, it's the environment itself. The classroom can often feel less like a laboratory for learning and more like a performance stage where getting something wrong is seen as a public failure. And this creates a really deep-seated fear of making mistakes.
And that kind of pressure cooker environment leads to what I call brittle knowledge. That's when you just memorize the steps like you're learning lines for a play. It works for the test, maybe, but the second you're under pressure, the script just vanishes. What we want to build is fluid knowledge, and that's a whole different ballgame. It's not about memorizing a formula. It's about having a conversation with the logic itself. It's about being comfortable in that messy middle part of solving something and realizing that a wrong turn isn't a failure. It's just new information.
Think about it. The person who freezes at the board is usually the one who feels like they have to see the entire solution from start to finish perfectly in their head before they even write down a single number. But real problem solving doesn't work that way. It's like a flashlight in the dark. You don't need to see the destination, you just need to see the very next step to keep moving forward.
You know what? Before we go any deeper, I want to prove something to you about your own brain. I want to show you that your ability to solve problems is way, way better than you think it is, as long as we can get you out of that high-pressure math headspace.
So, just take a breath, clear your mind. For this next part, I want you to promise me you won't try to calculate or look for some complicated formula. Just observe. Just look at what's there.
Okay, here's the sequence. 3, 3, 5, 4, 4, 3, 5, 5, 4. What comes next? Now, if you're feeling that old familiar frustration bubbling up, that's just your brain kicking into math mode, trying to find an algorithm. That's the trap.
Go ahead and pause the explanator if you want to think about it, but remember the rule. Don't calculate, just observe.
So, did you get it? This puzzle has nothing to do with mathematical value. It has everything to do with spelling. The first number is 3 because the word 1 has 3 letters. The next is 3 because the word 2 has 3 letters. Then 5 for THREE. Then 4 for FOUR, and so on. It's the number of letters in the English words for the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. The last number we saw was 4, which stands for the word 9. N-I-N-E. What comes after 9? 10. How many letters in T-E-N? 3. So the next number in the sequence is 3. The whole point of this exercise is to show you that your brain probably jumped to create all this artificial complexity because it assumed it was a hard math problem. The solution was actually simple once you just changed your perspective. And that right there, that shift, that's everything. It's about moving from a mindset of performance to one of pure curiosity. By the way, if you just had that aha moment with the puzzle, do me a favor and hit the like button. I'm really curious. What was your first theory for the pattern? Let me know in the comments below.
Miss right here is the whole strategy in a nutshell. It's about making a conscious choice to shift from a performance mindset, where your goal is to look smart and not make mistakes, to a curiosity mindset. In this mode, your goal is just to investigate the puzzle. What's amazing is that the same rush of adrenaline that causes panic in performance mode actually causes focus in curiosity mode. Your logical brain, your prefrontal cortex, comes back online because you're no longer running from a tiger, you're just exploring a fascinating problem.
Okay, so we've named our enemies, the biological fight-or-flight response and that sneaky perfectionist trap. But the question is, how do we actually break the paralysis in the moment? You're standing there, chalk in hand, mind is blank, what do?
Well, I'm going to share a powerful technique that completely changes the game. But before I give you the tactic, I have to tell you the story of the moment I almost gave up on math for good. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon in Mr. Henderson's 7th grade algebra class. And it was the silence right after I dropped the chalk that almost broke me.
I'm going to share that story and the technique that it led to in part 2 of this deep dive. So, to make sure you catch it, subscribe to Brainpower Academy, and, this is the important part, hit that notification bell. Trust me, you are not going to want to miss what comes next.
Welcome back to Brainpower Academy. In our last explainer, we really dug into the mechanics of learning. So today, we're going to tackle maybe the biggest obstacle of all, that feeling when your mind just goes completely blank under pressure.
Yep, you guessed it, this is part 2. In our last explainer, we absolutely shattered the myth of the math brain. Today, we're going to build the toolkit you need to perform when the stakes are high, the pressure's on, and it feels like all eyes are on you.
I want to start with a feeling, and I bet you know this one. You're at the chalkboard, chalk in your hand, and suddenly the problem in front of you looks like it's written in an alien language. You feel that heat creep up the back of your neck. It's just total paralysis. And in that awful silence, we tell ourselves a story. I'm just not wired for this.
But here's the thing we learned in part 1. That story is a total lie. There is no such thing as a math brain. There are only strategies. And today, we're building an incredibly powerful one to make sure you never have to freeze up again. And hey, if you believe in growing your own intelligence, you know what to do. Make sure you're subscribed to keep getting these explainers. So, it all kicks off with this massive shift in your mindset, something a teacher said that just changes the whole game. It's about seeing learning not as carrying something heavy, but as building something strong and reliable. All right, let's really unpack this slide, because this idea, it's everything. So, on one side, you've got this fragile memorization. Think of it like trying to carry a heavy box full of formulas. If you trip, you drop the whole thing. It's like walking a tightrope. But on the other side is deep understanding. That's like building a bridge. It's stable. You can count on it. You're not just memorizing the map, you actually understand how the compass works. And this is it, right here. This is the secret of those A+ students. They are not walking that tightrope. They're not terrified of forgetting a formula because, and this is the key, they don't have to memorize it. They get the fundamental ideas so deeply that if they ever get stuck, they can just rebuild the equation from scratch right then and there. They are always walking on solid ground.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, right? But what about in the actual moment, when your heart is pounding and the panic is creeping in and your mind is starting to go fuzzy? How do you actually use this?
Well, you use a protocol. We're going to call it the safety net. And it's a simple, reliable set of actions designed to do one thing: keep you in control of your own brain no matter how intense the pressure gets.
It's just 3 steps. Anchor, verbalize, and ask a strategic question. Simple, right? Let's break down what each one actually looks like in practice.
First up, anchoring. So the second you get to that board, before you even think about solving it, you just start writing. Write down everything you already know, the numbers they gave you, the variables you need to find. Get it out of your head and onto the board.
So why on earth does this simple trick work so well? Well, it's pretty amazing, actually. Just the physical act of moving your hand helps break that paralysis. It frees up space in your stressed-out brain by putting the data somewhere else. And here's the coolest part. It basically tells your brain's alarm system, your amygdala, hey, we're good, we're in control, no tigers here.
All right, you're anchored. You've got your foundation. Now for step 2, verbalizing the gap. See, silence is the enemy here. It just makes the pressure feel 100 times worse. So, you break it. You just say out loud what you're trying to do. Okay, so I have the velocity and the time. I'm trying to figure out the distance.
When you talk through your logic, you're basically forcing the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, to stay in charge and not let the panic take over. And let's be real, it has a huge social benefit. It shows the teacher you're trying, that you're engaged. That buys you so much time and goodwill, and it shatters that awful, intimidating silence.
And now, step 3. Honestly, this one is a total game changer. You've anchored, you've verbalized, but you're still stuck. This is that fork in the road where most people just give up. They say those 3 dreaded words. I don't know. But you're not going to do that. You're going to ask a strategic question.
Just look at the night and day difference here. I don't know, it's a closed door, it's you surrendering. But asking something specific like, okay, I'm at this step, should I divide by the coefficient first or subtract the constant? Well, that changes everything. It's an active move. It proves you're still in the fight. It completely changes the game. It's not a test anymore, it's a collaboration. And hey, if this is starting to click for you, if you can already feel how this could change things in those high-pressure moments, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It seriously helps get this explainer out to more people who really need to see it.
Okay, now for the fun part. Let's actually run a simulation in our minds. I really want you to visualize this. Feel it, so your brain already knows the playbook when the time comes.
Okay, here we go. They call your name, your heart starts pounding, and that's okay, you just notice it. It's just adrenaline. But instead of freezing, you walk up, and what's the first thing you do? You anchor. You write down the knowns. Then you verbalize. Okay, goal is to get Y by itself. You start moving forward, and then you hit a wall. The old you would have frozen. The new you just turns, asks a strategic question, gets a tiny nudge, and keeps on going. You finish the problem.
So, maybe you didn't get it perfect. Maybe you made a small mistake along the way. But what was the real victory there? What did you actually win?
Listen, the victory was not getting the right answer. The victory was that you didn't freeze. You stayed in control. You didn't run. You remained the pilot of your own brain. The math, you see, it's just the vehicle. The real destination is building your own resilience.
And that's because this skill, man, this goes so far beyond the classroom. That chalkboard, it's just practice. It's a simulation for a high-stakes job interview, or a huge presentation, or even just a difficult conversation with someone you care about. You're building a muscle for life.
So let's just take a second and recap the incredible transformations we've just unlocked. First off, you've got a whole new mindset. That feeling of being stuck is not a failure. It's the feeling of your brain actually learning. Second, you have a real, tangible tool, the 3-step safety net. And finally, what you're really doing is building a true life skill, the grit and character to face down a challenge.
So here's what I want you to do. The next time you feel that spike of fear, I want you to smile. Seriously, because that feeling, it's not a threat anymore. It's your cue. It's the signal to open up your mental toolkit and calmly run the protocol.
You've got this. You really do. You have the tools to figure things out. Keep building that resilience muscle with us by subscribing to Brain Power Academy. And I'd love to know. Drop a comment below and tell me which step of this safety net really clicked for you. Thank you so much for learning with us, and we'll see you in the next one.